also actually very important, because after you're able to recognize and label your emotions, you understand how certain emotions trigger the unhealthy behaviors.
Welcome to Reclamation, the podcast where conversations meet practical insights, guiding you through the maze of behavioral science to empower better public health outcomes. With a passion for bridging the gap between medicine, psychology, and sociology, Tabo brings a unique perspective to every episode. Get ready to reclaim your understanding of health and behavior. This is Reclamation.
How many goals have you set in your life that you actually have not seen through? Health goals in this context, obviously. How many times have you told yourself you're going to eat better, you're going to eat more greens and more proteins, you're going to cut down on specific maybe meals or portions or type of food? How many times have you told yourself you're going to maybe reduce on your substance intake, which could be the alcohol, the smoking, the tobacco? How many times have you told yourself you're going to work out more? How many times have you actually set a goal of wanting to do this and hoping you would achieve it, but then you somehow do not? I have been in similar situations so many times. I have found myself indulging in behavior I wouldn't want to, or struggling to indulge in a behavior that I actually really want to because I know the benefit that it has. But for some reason, I just wouldn't. And at the time, I wish I had knowledge on CBT, and that's what I want to talk to you about. So welcome to today's episode. If you really want to understand how you can break that vicious cycle of setting goals and never seeing them through, I feel like this episode will really help you, because an understanding of CBT has helped me personally in my life, and it has helped so many of my clients in psychotherapy as well. So when we talk about CBT, we're talking about cognitive behavior therapy. So cognitive behavior therapy has what we know as the CBT triangle, which is also known as the cognitive triangle. So this is a core concept of cognitive behavior therapy that illustrates the interconnectedness of your thoughts, your feelings, and your behavior. So when we're looking at cognitive behavior therapy, this is a type of psychotherapy that it focuses on identifying and changing your negative thought patterns and behaviors. So it's a belief that your thoughts and your feelings and behaviors are interconnected. So by changing negative thoughts and behaviors, we can improve on our emotional well-being, on our overall mental health, and hence actually get the desired behavior that we seek. And that is what I would want each and every person to actually have some basic understanding of. So cognitive behavior therapy is a model that is used with so many different clients who have different challenges such as depression, anxiety, OCD, PTSD, substance use disorders, addiction, and other behavioral disorders and challenges. It's been very effective. I've seen it also work on the clients that I've been seeing over the past few years. So with cognitive behavior therapy, as I said, we use the CBT triangle. So your thoughts, a triangle has three sides, right? 3 sides and 3 angles. So we can imagine a triangle with one angle at the top and 2 at the bottom. The top one being the thoughts, the next one at the bottom being feelings, and the next one also at the same level as the feelings being your behavior. So basically what you think, what thoughts you have running in your mind have an impact and contribute to and lead to you feeling a certain type of way. And when you feel a certain type of way after thinking, you then decide to indulge in a certain behavior or not indulge in a behavior at all. So when you understand this, you're able to understand how your thoughts and how your feelings actually affect the behavior, and you're able to manipulate this. So when we look at understanding CBT and how it can work for you, you need to first start by identifying and challenging your thoughts. So this means identifying and challenging the negative thoughts. You can do this by being more aware of your thoughts. A lot of the times we are not aware of what we actually think. Sometimes we see ourselves doing something, behaving in a certain way, and we don't actually go down go back the path and see what led to that. But with cognitive behavior therapy, that is where it now comes in to say, okay, why are you behaving like this? Because you felt this way. Why did you feel this way? Because you thought in this way. So if you could start by identifying your thoughts, what is it that you actually think of? What thoughts or negative thoughts are holding you back? For example, somebody might think they have this thought that I can't handle stress without smoking. Like every single time I am stressed, I have to smoke. I have to take a cigarette. I have to take some weed. I have to maybe drink, a shot of something really alcoholic and strong. That is a thought. But then cognitive restructuring is a core component of CBT, and it involves identifying and challenging those distorted thought patterns. Because you look at the thought that you have and ask yourself to say, is this thought actually a fact? Where did this thought come from? Where does it stem from? These thought patterns are referred to as cognitive distortions, and they can actually contribute to emotional distress and also maladaptive behaviors. So the goal of cognitive restructuring is to replace these negative thoughts with more balanced and realistic ones. So you tell yourself to say, I cannot handle stress without smoking. I cannot handle stress without eating the chocolate. Imagine you're trying to cut down on your calories and you have this thought that you can't handle stress. So you look back and actually question that thought. It's not a fact. So why do you have it? Then that way you can actually change it. I am stressed, but I can handle it in another alternative way. And that is what we do with cognitive restructuring. So for me, when it came to taking my medication, I had told myself that taking a pill every single day was so much work. But then I sat down and realized to say, no, but why did I actually think it's so much work? Because taking one pill takes less than a minute of my time. So a lot of the times you've created the problem in your thought process. And at no point do we ever say eating food every single day is so exhausting, because we need to eat the food and we are able to do it every single time. So you just approach that thought with another more positive one. So it's easy to do this sometimes because you're not always aware of your thoughts by keeping a thought diary. And that's why I always encourage a lot of the clients I see, I always encourage everybody who is having such challenges to keep a thought diary, record your thoughts, record what you're actually thinking. That way you can go back to them and actually question them. The next thing you'd need to keep in mind is being able to name the feelings and recognize and label the emotions. So in that moment after you've had that thought, how does that thought make you feel? Do you feel worthless? Do you feel stressed? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel sad? It's so much easier to deal with something if you put a label on it and know what you're actually dealing with. So how do you manage those emotions? You understand the triggers. You understand what has actually led me to feeling this way. It's because of this particular thought. What has made me feel sad? What has made me feel really angry? What has made me feel frustrated? And all the other emotions and feelings you can think of. Identify the triggers, and that way you can easily cut out the triggers if it's through a thought or if it's something that has happened that has led you to think in a certain way and that has led you to now feel what it is you are feeling. So emotional regulation is also actually very important, because after you're able to recognize and label your emotions, you understand how certain emotions trigger the unhealthy behaviors. And you're able to then develop the strategies you need to cope with these emotions in a much healthier way. Because a lot of the unhealthy habits we have, it's an attempt to cope with that trigger, that negative emotion that stemmed from a negative thought. So we have now looked at how our thoughts, which was the top of the triangle, lead to our emotions and our feelings. Now we can go and look at how the emotions and your feelings actually then lead to the behavior. So the third point would be you understanding how to modify your unhealthy behaviors. we do this through behavior activation. So behavior activation is a CBT technique that focuses on increasing engagement in positive and meaningful activities. So it's particularly effective in treating conditions such as depression, because you're not able to. A common sign of depression is you losing interest and not being able to engage in the activities you want to. So you might not be able to have the zeal to prepare the healthy meals you used to, or to be able to work out and go to the gym the way you used to. And we use a lot of behavioral activation with people with this challenge. So it helps you break the cycle of inactivity and the negative mood. So the idea is that by engaging in activities that bring pleasure or a sense of accomplishment, individuals can improve their mood and their overall well-being. So behavioral activation is very, very key, because then you're able to understand what feelings led you to that particular behavior. You feel stressed at that point, and then you decided to walk to your closest shop and get a cigarette or get a bottle of alcohol to indulge in. And then it's very easy for you to actually realize, to say, okay, there's this particular behavior that stems from this feeling. So how can I find a way of actually replacing it? So once you understand how those three, which is your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors, are interconnected, it becomes so much easier for you to actually set goals, because then you know what is actually driving the behavior that you want to actually get rid of, or what is driving or reinforcing that particular behavior, or what is actually standing in the way of you attaining the behavior you want to. So after you understand this, it's very important to actually set realistic goals and monitor your progress. So a lot of the times we have goals that I want to, like, oh, my goal this year is just to stop smoking. My goal this year is to work out more. My goal this year is to actually make sure that I take my medication, is it for diabetes or hypertension or HIV, correctly and consistently, and adhere to it. But then you don't actually set smart goals. And I think when we think of smart goals, we're always thinking of work and school and a corporate world. But then for those who might not know, smart goals are just goals that are specific, that are measurable, they are achievable, and they are relevant, and they are also time bound. So SMART literally just stands for these things. The S is for specific, M is for measurable, A is for achievable, R is for relevant, and T is for time-bound goals. So it's very important for you to be able to sit down with your goals and see if they are actually perfect goals. Are they specific? Are they measurable? Can you actually achieve them? And it's important to also start small and start with realistic goals. Because sometimes when you set a goal in which you're only going to be able to see the results 2 years from now, the motivation to actually continue is so much harder. It's so much easier for you to set a goal and say, my goal is for me to be able to just skip rope every day for the next 10 days. You know, to say ultimately what you want to do is to be able to do that every single day for the rest of your life. But start small. Because what that does to you is that if you're able to achieve the smaller goals, it gives you more motivation to actually take a step into achieving the much larger goals, because you need that drive, you need the hormones to actually get into your head and convince you that it is possible because you've achieved something. Once you achieve something, it's so much easier for you to actually want to pursue more towards that goal. So lastly, the most important thing, even as you understand and know this and appreciate the CBT triangle, look at your thoughts and your emotions and your behaviors, you need to actually seek support and accountability. It's so important to have a community. It's so important to have somebody supporting you, somebody you can be accountable to, accountability partners. And if you can, I know the barriers that exist in seeking a coach or a therapist or a personal support, whatever form or package it is that they may come in. It's not always possible, but when it is, I always encourage and urge everybody to do so, because I believe psychotherapy it's not a it's not a treatment. A lot of people go for psychotherapy and will look for maybe a therapist or counselor who uses CBT modules in the hopes that they can fix them and treat them. But I am a strong believer that psychotherapy is more of a support than a treatment. I say this because you are the one who is in the driver's seat of your life, and what the person is doing is just supporting you as you drive to the destination that you're trying to get to, by helping you be more aware, by watching from the outside and seeing, opening you up to perspectives of your life, of your feelings, your emotions, your motivation that you might not have been able to actually see on yourself on your own because you're the one in that situation. And that is what psychotherapy is. It's support. It's also providing you with the necessary tools that you might need after you've been aware of something. You've been made aware of yourself and your feelings and emotions and your actions. But what tools do you then have to actually make the change? Be it tools to actually communicate better, to make better decisions, to set your goals and prioritize them, by understanding your motivators, by understanding your traumas, your insecurities, and all these other things that come into play. And that is what psychotherapy does. So I really hope more people will now see it as more of a support than an actual treatment of a condition or of a challenge. It's basically, you are the one in charge. Like, you are the one in charge of getting to where you want to be. You are the one in charge of deciding, of rather engaging in that behavior and turning your life around to being a healthier, better version of yourself. As I have really talked about this so much, I just want to end by saying, remember that change takes a lot of time and effort, but with the right strategies and the right support, it's entirely achievable. So I'm hoping this will give you something to think about. I'm hoping this will encourage you to actually reflect on your thoughts, where they stem from, what might be contributing to them, the emotions that you have towards those thoughts, how you actually feel about them, and why those thoughts are wrong or right, and the emotions. And then now looking at the behavior that you choose to do, or the behavior that you're trying to cut down on. If you do need this support, you can always reach out through the show notes. There can be contacts to me, and I can also share other resources that might be necessary. I hope you have learned so much from this episode. Thank you for joining me till the very end. In the world of behavioral science, every ending is just the beginning of something new. Please remember to subscribe, leave a comment, and stay tuned for more adventures in behavioral science as we continue our journey towards a healthier, more informed decision making. Until then, stay curious, stay vigilant, stay healthy. This is Tabo Lukato Hadonka signing off from Reclamation.
When I was making, I didn't sit down and say, okay, that I'm going to do. I was just trying things. So after I tried the weight products, after I tried different things, I was like, okay, why don't I try things that are going to help improve my mental health as well as my physical health?
Welcome to Reclamation, the podcast where conversations meet practical insights in you through the maze of behavioral science to empower health outcomes. With a passion bridging the gap between medicine, biology, and sociology, Tabo brings a unique perspective to every episode. Get ready to reclaim your understanding of health and behavior. This is Reclamation.
Welcome to another episode. This week's episode of Reclamation. I am so excited here because I have a lovely lady seated in front of me that I haven't seen in almost 2 years. Yeah, it should be 2 years, and she's looking amazing. She's looking awesome. I actually wish this year so that you guys could actually see her. But yes, I have Namatama Luwinda, who is a medical licensed psychiatrist. She's a weight loss coach, and she's a mental health activist. She's amongst the most, she's probably the most influential mental health activist we have in Zambia. Welcome, Namatama. Welcome.
Thank you, Tabo. Those vibes. I'm even feeling shy.
Energy. Can you match my energy?
I'm failing to talk now.
So yeah, thank you for taking the time to come here. I know you've been so busy. I've been reaching out for a while and you're not feeling well. But yeah, I'm glad you took the time to come here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
So you've been doing so well. Your body's looking good.
Thank you.
Yeah, so tell us about that.
Where do I start?
What happened? Because the last time I saw you, you were still just as pretty, but you were slightly bigger. Yeah.
Yeah, so I lost weight. Okay, so when I was bigger, I experienced a lot of body shaming. And many people think that's what motivated me to lose weight.
Oh, it isn't?
No.
So I thought so too. Okay.
No, not at all. The body shaming didn't bring anything positive to me, really. It didn't, because initially the weight gain came, I would say, due to depression. Well, that's what my psychiatrist said when I just started gaining weight in 2020. It was because of the depression. And so the body shaming just made the depression worse, which made the weight gain even worse. So my motivation for losing weight was the love that I developed for myself. Initially, I enjoyed being big, but then the more that people spoke about me being big, I started to hate being big. I can't really say I ever hated myself.
Yeah.
Because I still loved myself and still saw myself as beautiful, but I just didn't like being big.
Okay, so allow me to cut you off first. Because I know people are wondering when you say you gained weight because of depression. How? Like, what do you mean because of depression? As some of the people living with depression gain weight, they automatically gain weight. Like, how exactly did that lead to your weight gain?
So there are different factors that may lead to people with depression gaining weight. Although what we see most of the time is people losing weight, right? So when you are living with depression, especially if it's clinical depression, it can have an effect on your metabolism. It can have an effect on your appetite. So it can either make you eat way less or eat way more. And in other instances, the person may not even be eating that much, but because their metabolism is so slow, they end up gaining weight from even the little that they eat.
Okay, that makes sense. So what do you think happened to you? Were you eating more or was your metabolism just messed up?
I think it started with my metabolism being messed up because initially I wasn't really like a foodie like that.
Yeah.
But then the more depressed I became, I started stress eating. And I would like anytime that I would be sad, I would go for milkshakes. And for me, that was therapeutic. And I even used to just...
It was an escape, eh?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize that those milkshakes were adding... Yes. So due to the weight gain, I started developing physical health complications. So I had borderline high cholesterol. I was even diagnosed with hyperthyroidism at some point. I had issues with pneumonia. I know it doesn't seem like there's a connection between pneumonia and weight gain, but then if you have more fat, right, or more body mass, your lungs have to work harder.
Look at you schooling us.
Oh, yes. So you have to know that, hey, she has a degree.
I know. The degree is working. Show us.
Yes. So your heart and your lungs have to work extra hard to produce more oxygen. So because I had COVID pneumonia at some point, like it was terrible. Wow. And so after that, I had recurrent pneumonia about 5 times within a year, you can imagine. So I had all these issues there, even some other issues that I think if I mention all of them now,
we'll be here the whole day.
Yes.
Like, what was wrong with her?
Exactly. So I decided I love myself enough to get myself healthy. So for me, it wasn't much about the way I would look, but the way that my body would feel and function.
Okay. Nice. That was really nice. I had no idea. And I think a lot of us always thought it's because of what you went through on the Date My Family show and all that. But it's actually encouraging that you did it for yourself, which is very important. It's like intrinsic motivation. Eh?
Yes. When I tried to do it because of body shaming, it just got worse. And I would start my jogs, and in the middle of a jog, I get angry at a comment that someone passed, and like, I'm jogging just to impress that person.
Yeah.
I've stopped, and I'll stop jogging for like 2 weeks, and then I get back. But then when I said, this is for my own good, I was on with everything.
Okay. So I know we always say motivation really isn't enough to keep you going a lot of times, but would you say doing it for the right reasons helped, like the intrinsic motivation because you were the one who actually wanted it and not validation from other people? Did that help you stay consistent with the journey when you decided this is what you wanted to do now?
Definitely. Because as with all things, I mean, if you choose, for example, a university program for yourself, right? No matter how hard it is, you wake up to study. Yeah. But if it's your parents that chose it for you, you will not have the discipline to do it, to keep going. But then because I did it for myself, I actually enjoyed the process, and I'm still enjoying the process. I'm still making the summer body. You ain't like nothing I thought
we're
yet.
Reached.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Megan Thee Stallion vibes.
You're getting there. Wow. Okay, that's actually interesting to hear. But what other ways have you managed to stay consistent, especially because you were still dealing with your mental challenges, your mental illness, you still had your depression that you had to live with. So how have you managed to stay consistent? How did you manage to stay consistent? How much have you lost?
I don't remember the last time I checked my weight, but the last time I checked my weight, I think that was like a month ago, I was at 60 kgs and my starting weight was 87.
Over 20 kgs?
Yes.
Okay, so you need to tell us. So how did you stay?
Kgs.
Yeah. So how did you actually stay consistent even when, because I know when you're living with depression, sometimes you just do not feel like engaging in any activity, even if you actually know the benefit and understand it. That's why I always keep repeating and saying today, it's one thing to know, but it's like the gap between the knowledge and the action. How are you making sure? Because I know you needed to do a lot of lifestyle modification with the working out, the diet. How did you go about that whilst you managing your depression?
So on the aspect of health, right? The mental health aspect was also a huge factor. So when I was making my plan, it actually wasn't like I didn't sit down and say, okay, these are the things that I'm going to do. I was just trying different things. So after I tried the weight loss products, after I tried different things, I was like, okay, why don't I try things that are going to help improve my mental health as well as my physical health, Yeah. So I know that exercise is one of those things. So whenever I would feel lazy, I still have those days when I feel lazy. And I tell myself, you'll feel better after this. A jog a day keeps the depression away. Like the hardest part about anything is starting. So I always just get myself to start. And even when I skip, because I'm human, we are bound to fall short of the glory of God and ourselves anyway. So even on the days when I don't necessarily do what I'm supposed to do, I do a mini version of it. So if I was supposed to, say, jog for 30 minutes, I skip rope for 5 minutes so that I still feel accomplished.
So it's an alternative. At least you didn't do nothing.
Yes. And so my body also has registered that, okay, she's exercised. That dopamine has spiked.
Yeah.
And yay, hooray, Tama. Nice. And also on the aspect of food, because that's something that I've also really used to help with my weight loss and getting more fit. Because I live alone, it's easy. I just decided to get rid of everything that wasn't good for me and just started buying more of what's good for me. So I'd buy like vegetables in excess.
Yeah.
So that I'm forced to
actually cook them. Vegetables. Because it's the only thing you have in the house.
Yes.
Okay. Then what about for us who are not living alone and you have family? How would you advise us to go about that? Because that was at least, it was helping you. But then for other people who are living around people and they are having all this carbs and fatty foods and all that. Like, have you thought about that? Like, what ways would you?
Yes. So my weight loss program is actually tailored to Zambian lifestyle, Zambian diet. So it comes with a meal plan that includes food like nshima, your everyday food, right? The only difference is the way the food is portioned. So if you are eating with your family, right, and you have nshima, you should just portion your food accordingly. So 50% of your plate should be filled with vegetables. So if you're eating nshima, probably you'd need to cook 2 or 3 vegetables.
Yeah.
And then 30% protein and then 20% the carb. So the people in my group don't eat more than 1.5 lumps of nshima. But they still get full.
Okay.
With the veggies.
Okay.
You should try it.
I will.
Especially if it's roller meal. Roller ikutisa.
Oh, yeah. I have no problem with roller, so yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. So we're not getting rid of the shima because I see a lot of diet plans whereby you cut the carbs completely and...
So we don't really get rid of anything. The only thing I can say that we probably get rid of is sugar, but that's also optional. You can just reduce your sugar intake to, negligible amounts.
Yeah.
But we don't really get rid of anything. Carbs are also important. When you take out carbs, then you're causing imbalance to the body. And also, Zambians eat nshima almost every day, right? So if I'm to put them on a plan that excludes nshima,
it's going to be you're setting them up for failure.
Yes. And also, when they are done with the 6-week program, they'll go back to eating nshima and gain weight even more. So if I can just teach them how to eat what they already love.
So it's also about making it sustainable for their clients and for yourself as well.
Yes.
Okay. So earlier you mentioned that you discovered that you turned to foods such as milkshakes and others for comfort. How are you dealing with that now? Because I'm sure there are a lot of people who are having mental health challenges and would want to achieve a certain goal, but then what is standing in between them is the vice that they found themselves in that is providing them with comfort or a coping or an escape. So like the food, because you were turning to food. For that. How did you, was it automatic? Like once you decided to say, I want to lose weight, did you stop wanting to have the milkshakes that you used to have? Like, how did that happen? How'd you go through that? What would you advise?
Okay. So when I decided to improve my health, one aspect that I did not leave out was my financial health. So how that helped me was I constantly think of ways in which I can get what I want without spending money or spending minimum money. So I make my own shakes at home.
That's really smart.
Yeah, thank you. So I mix like different fruits and actually make my own protein shakes at home. Yes, I can even give you a quick recipe. Like
come on, give us.
It's simple. So for the average Zambian, protein shakes are very expensive.
They are.
But what's in them is literally soya. So if you are not allergic to soya, you can get that soya porridge that they sell. The same cheap one. And then use milk and put your favorite fruits. I usually use banana as a base because it makes everything nice. I love bananas. So just mix those things. One thing that I also put in almost every shake is mawuyu. So the pulp from mawuyu, and also I boil the covers and extract that tea. So that helps to boost the immune system, and it also helps with weight loss. It also helps with suppressing your appetite and making your body warm. I think everybody needs a warm body.
I have so much to say about that. Zambians' obsession with warm bodies, the women. But we'll not talk about that. But makes your body warm, which is a plus, I guess.
It kills viruses.
Okay. What viruses?
Flu.
The influenza that almost took you out a few days ago.
Yes, and I killed it with mawuyu.
With the mawuyu.
Yes,
okay, that's actually good to know. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No. Noted. We'll try that out.
Yeah, like mawuyu has about 10 times as much vitamin C than oranges. Did you know that?
I didn't.
You do.
Wow, now I do. Glad you came.
Become a Mabuyu girl.
Where'd you find them?
The markets.
They are there? Okay, I think it's because I'm never looking for them. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, but they're all over in the markets. Yeah.
Okay. So, with your combined experience of actually wanting to lose... Okay, no. Actually, before we go there, after you have managed to lose weight, would you say you've reached your goal? Was this the ultimate goal? Like, when you were beginning this journey, what was your vision of the end looking like?
I think I've actually gone beyond my goal because...
Wow.
Yeah, initially my goal was 65 kgs because that's what seemed healthy for my BMI and whatnot.
Yeah.
But then now I'm at 60 and I didn't expect myself to be this happy. I knew that I would be happy, but I've never been this happy in my life. Like I'm living my best life and wondering like, so there are people who are happy like this. Jesus. Because also, it's also been a spiritual journey. Initially, I would try to lose weight on my own. And there was, at some point, I just gave up and said, Jesus, I know you care about my feelings. So please help me to get healthy. I know that, you are Jehovah Rapha. You are the healer. So even when I feel like I can't do it, please, you help me do it, So through this journey, I've also really gotten closer to God, especially because most of the people around me were body shamers. Like even the people that I thought I could run to were just not there. So it was an issue of, okay, it's just me and God, because even when I would say, guys, you see me next year, you won't be able to touch me. So, Paul be like, now, but they're the same ones who are now green. Can I take you out for lunch? No, I am on a weight loss program.
Yeah, speaking of that, how do you navigate that? Because it's easy when you have control over your environment at home, but then like dates, how are you making your orders of food? Because these are things that are around us and you've set a goal that you want to do this. At home, it's all good because you're in control. But then there are times where you go out, maybe you even visit another town for a weekend or the whole week. And how do you go about that when you're forced to actually have to order food and not be the one to prepare it?
It all goes down to portioning. So if I go to a restaurant, I'll order a huge salad and a normal meal on the side. So because I know I can't tell them, give me half of the chicken and stuff. So I just portion it like that. So usually for me, one meal turns out to be 2 meals because of the portion of the salad. By the time I'm getting to the other things, I'm already kind of full.
Nice. That's actually interesting to hear because I remember someone saying like expensive and fancy hotels, when they have buffets, they usually start with the salads deliberately as compared to the cheaper places which would start with the actual carbs and the proteins. So it's like they start with the salads as you're going to serve. I don't know if you've observed it. I'm not sure. I've observed it twice. Like after I heard it, I'm like, okay, yeah, the more posh places do that. So it's like you're already full with your plate is already filled. So it's kind of working on your mind because you started with the salads before you got to find out what is there. And then you're now adding. So yeah, I guess that kind of helps in a way. So, and it's almost in line with what you're saying of having the bigger salads.
I'll be more observant now.
You should. Interesting. Maybe they lied to me, but
it's possible.
It's possible, right? Yeah. I observed it twice. I was like, oh, interesting to note.
They're expensive people. They can pay the psychologists.
Exactly. Yeah, like how do we go about... I guess it also saves money for them because salads are cheaper than... Right?
Yeah.
Than meat. Yeah, salads are cheaper than meat. So it's a win for them from the business point of view.
I think I should open a restaurant,
You have so many. You get an idea every single time people have conversation with you.
Yes.
It is. So looking at how you've been able to do your weight loss as a coach, you've managed to actually lose weight. You said you've gone you've gone beyond what you actually envisioned. And I'm wondering, have you learned anything during this process that helps you with staying consistent in other avenues, other ways of your life besides just the actual weight loss journey or the dieting and the exercise? Are there other ways that what you have learned you've been able to apply in your many other hats you wear? I know you wear so many hats. You are a counselor. So the consistency. I'm wondering if there are any transferable skills or insights you've gotten.
The biggest lessons that I have learned through my weight loss journey are financial lessons. Through my weight loss journey, I have found myself, I don't know if I can say making or multiplying more money. I'm able to save more money. I'm able to invest my money in, places that like long-term investments, short-term investments. Before, I wasn't the best person with money. I didn't really believe, I used to save, but just like, no more saving, piggy bank, 1 to 100 day challenges. But from seeing how my efforts with weight loss have compounded and given me results, I've been able to understand the principle of compounding. I used to have difficulties understanding money. That was the most difficult topic for me.
For a lot of us, actually. Yeah.
So now, because I have weight loss and fitness to look at, like, I started from here with all these issues and all this weight, but because I've been taking 30 minutes to jog, those 30 minutes probably don't even feel like a lot, but at the end of it, I'm seeing the results. So that made me start saving. Like, okay, if I save even just a small amount of money every day, so I cultivated a habit of saving every single day. And through that, I've been able to do things that I'm like, me?
Yeah, like, how did I do that? Even you are shocked.
Things.
Yeah, a big person now, clearly.
I'm not ready.
Big people. That's really nice to know. Any other insights you have for us? Anything else? Anything you wish I had asked in this conversation that is important that you think somebody listening would benefit from?
You can only get better when you start to love yourself. And when I talk about self-love, I'm not talking about going to the spa or having a skincare routine. I'm talking about loving yourself enough to be disciplined. Discipline is also a form of self-love because you are investing in your future self. So with all things, you have to love yourself where you are now. So I started to love myself at 87 kgs.
Yeah.
And told myself I'm going to get this I love this 87 kg body and I'm going to get it to 65 because I love it. And because I love it, I'm going to stress it until it does what I want it to do. Wow. So yeah, love yourself enough to put yourself through pain that's going to pay off later.
Wow. That's actually that's so wise.
I feel like I've just, hey guys.
You're powerful,
Wisdom will kill me one day.
It will. It actually will. I was thinking of asking something and it's just, I've lost my train of thought. Your wisdom just confused me. I swear your wisdom confused me. I hope you're going to cut that out. Like, I really had something in mind. Anyway, how many more minutes? Okay, so that's very, very insightful. And if somebody's out there listening to you and saying, okay, she just has so much to give and they want to tap into that, how do they get a hold of you?
Okay, so my socials, Namatama Luwinda. Wherever you just see Namatama, mental health, you just type in my name, something mental health will come. I don't think we are many Namatama Luwindas.
Nah.
Maybe the other ones are doing other things. Also, my number is 0777 003 153. So if you would like to join the weight loss, like my weight loss program is actually very affordable. And that was the point. Like I wanted to give Zambians an affordable option.
We have no excuse now.
Yes. So for 100 kwacha, you have unlimited coaching. You get a weight loss guide and you get a meal plan. And also you get mental health coaching.
Yeah.
Yes, because
that is very important.
Yes. So every day we do an exercise that helps to improve our mental health as well in just 100 kwacha.
That really sounds like a bargain. And thank you for doing that, because I know it takes a lot to take from your time and your effort, your mental bundles, to actually pour into other people. I'm so happy that you're doing this and making a change in people's lives.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having spared the time to come here.
Thank you so much.
I really appreciate it. So yeah, that was Namatama Luvinda. Shared so much information on how she's able to stay consistent in her weight loss journey, how she's able to portion her foods in order to achieve the goals that she actually wants to do. Her socials will be shared on the podcast description, show notes. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining me till the very end. In the world of behavioral science, every ending is just the beginning of something new. Please remember to subscribe, leave a comment, and stay tuned for more adventures in behavioral science as we continue our journey towards a healthier, more informed decision making. Until then, stay curious, stay vigilant, stay healthy. This is Tabo Lukato Hadunka signing off from Reclamation.
Growing up, that's when you're hearing, oh, marijuana relaxes your nerves. And then there was that movie with Wiz Khalifa and Snoop Dogg, and they were smoking weed, and they were so zen. And I was like, I want to feel that. I want to feel how they're feeling.
Welcome to Reclamation, a podcast where conversations meet practical insight in you through the maze of science to empower better health outcomes. With a passion for bridging the gap between medicine, psychology, and sociology, Tabo brings a unique perspective episode. Get ready, claim your understanding of health and behavior. This is Reclamation.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Reclamation. On today's episode, we have a special guest. Special because she's somebody so dear in my heart. She's somebody I've known for years. Like, since when did we meet?
24 years ago now?
I think it's been 24 years. So she's someone I know, someone up with, someone I've seen turn into this amazing and beautiful woman that she is. And she's gone through so much in life, so much that I'm hoping a lot of us can learn from and be inspired by her resilience and how she's overcome a lot of what life has thrown to her. She's Sisi. She's a good friend of mine. She was actually the one person who was my cheerleader when I had this idea of this podcast. So welcome to Reclamation, Sisi.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here. Mm-hmm. Look at you, the podcast.
Finally.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Because the last time I was on your podcast.
Yes. And you didn't even know that you do this. And I'm just so proud of what you've accomplished and what you're doing. It's really beautiful to see.
Thank you. Like, you were part of the inspiration with your podcast. It's like, if Sisi can do it, I can do it too.
Oh, I'm humbled.
Yeah, so she's a marketing professional. She's a mental health activist. She's very passionate about human behavior. And she has a lived experience that has led to her passion and wanting to see other people do better. Can you tell us about that? Like, because I remember when we met years later after going some time without having been in contact, she shared her passion for mental health and a little bit about her story. So I'd like other people to understand, to say, what led to you? Why mental health? Why do you care so much about it?
Okay. Hello, everybody. Sisi, as you have introduced. So actually, I only recently became very vocal about it. I always did it in the background. But over the past few months, I have seen how there's a gap in the mental health space. And a lot of us are struggling with demons that we face silently. And I think that is also how I came about with Behind Closed Doors, because I wanted to talk about things that we are hiding behind closed doors. So how did mental health come about? From as early as I can remember, I think 14, I would always be overcome with this overwhelming sadness, right? And I never really understood what it was. And obviously you can't share to anyone to say, oh, I'm sad, because everybody gets sad. And then obviously I attributed it to maybe so much that had been going on in my life. I have been surrounded by a lot of loss and a lot of trauma. I think that is what kind of started all of that, right? Yeah. By the time I was 15, 16, I was having blackouts. I was not eating. I was not sleeping. All I did was just rot. Oh. And it was so bad, so much that I had to be pulled out of school because of that. And this is something I've never shared with anybody, huh? Wow. I had to be pulled out of school for a year. And I was just rotting away. And this is when I discovered marijuana. So there was somebody who was living in our area who would always give me, some joints. And that is the only way I would, talk to people, smile, do all this other stuff.
So hold up. How did you get to discovering the marijuana part? Like, how did you, the first time that is, do you remember what led you to think, let me try this out?
I think
did you know that it would make you feel better? Were you hoping? Did you search for some things that didn't work and marijuana was one of those you bumped into?
To be honest, I think it was just around the time, as a teenager, you're trying to, you're being woke. Like, we're trying alcohol, and I wasn't really a fan of alcohol. I tried that. It didn't work out for me. I think I would throw up all the time. So I knew that, okay, I am not an alcohol person. And, when you're growing up, that's when you're hearing, marijuana relaxes your nerves. And then there was that movie with Wiz Khalifa and Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
And they were smoking weed. And they were so zen.
It looked cool.
It looked really, and I was like,
want that.
I want to feel that. I don't think it was about, I want to be cool. It was, I want to feel how they're feeling. Because the demons that I was fighting daily in my mind, I just wanted some silence. So when somebody had that and I had the opportunity to try it, and in fact felt how I saw it on TV, it was beautiful. And this is something I did privately. For the most part, my mom traveled a lot.
Okay.
So it was not easy for her to tell that something's happening with my kid is starting to do drugs or any of that, right? So I started the marijuana. Whenever I'd feel some type of way, and then now it became to a point where I'm smoking maybe 4 to 6 joints in a day. If I don't smoke, I'll not sleep. If I don't smoke, I will not eat. I will not,
So you
I would not function.
Dependent.
Yes, I became very dependent. And then it got to a point where I don't feel anything else, just the high. And I started self-harming because I'd want to feel a different pain from what I'm struggling with. So I'd harm myself, slit my wrists, just so I could feel a bit alive. And now I started losing time because of that. I don't know if it was because of the marijuana or I really don't know, but I'd have blackouts. And so my mom sent me to the hospital to get my blood tested because maybe you have low sugar or something.
Yeah.
And when I got there, they tested everything. Everything was okay. And the doctor, spoke to me for a little bit, trying to understand when all this started, how I feel around just before I black out or after. And he told me that, your case needs a psychiatrist because it seems you have chronic depression and anxiety. So, but how he told me, and now that I think about it, I'm like, it could have broken me further because he said, if you continue down this path, you will die. And so as a teenager, as a 16-year-old, all I've heard is, I'm going to die.
So that freaks you out.
So I go home and I'm telling my mom, okay, so I'm going to die because I have something called anxiety and depression. And the grace that this woman showed, I'm very thankful to this day, because an African parent being told that your kid has a mental illness is really, nobody wants to have a kid.
That was like 10 years, over 10 years
that was
ago.
over 10 years ago. Nobody wants to have a kid who's broken. So, I go to the psychiatrist and they do all the assessment. And yes, that is what I have. So they're giving me all these pills, antidepressants, anti-anxiety meds, sleeping pills.
Yeah.
So I'm on a cocktail, right, of all these meds. And so I have to now work the meds and the marijuana, because I'm still abusing that, right? And now it means it's...
Your doctors know you were using?
No, nobody. Till this day, till now in the podcast.
This you don't know.
Nobody knows. So the medication did not work. They instead numbed me, because maybe the chemistry with the marijuana, or maybe my body was not working with it. Because also you need to realize that at that time, over 10 years ago, that was trial and error. Yeah. Mental health wasn't something that,
it's just something we're still
right now, exactly.
And,
but at least where we are at now, it's much better to manage.
We've
made progress in that area. But then it was really try and error. So, if this didn't work, we'll try this next thing. If that didn't work, we'll try this. So I had a series of different medications on and off, So...
But the marijuana was still there.
The marijuana was still
constant.
It was the constant.
It was giving relief, would you say?
It was giving relief. It was giving zen. It was giving peace.
Yeah.
And at some point, I thought to myself, I haven't been to school in over a year. And I have to pretend with my age mates.
Yeah.
I would, when it's 16:30, I'd wear my uniform and come outside so that people be like, oh, she's from school. And I think also having to keep up that took a toll on me, because also I was from a very small town where if I go to a social worker, everybody's going to know that, oh, John Van's child has a mental disease. And so I stopped going there altogether. And I had now to start pretending to say I'm fine. And I had to pretend even in my home to my parents to say I'm healed.
Okay.
So I'm praying, God is good. I'm healed. He saved me. And that just got worse. I think it's been an on and off thing from then to now in recent time, where I'm old enough to say, you know what, I can't rely on my parents to take care of me anymore because I'm an adult now. So I have to make the informed decision. I have to stand to say, this is not the life I want for myself anymore. So the therapist that I dreaded, I started going. And it was so bad that now in my adult years, living alone, I would just rot in my home and nobody knows. I just shut from the outside world. I don't eat. I don't bathe. I don't sleep. I just cry. And you're living like a grouch. And it took so much to say, I can't do this anymore. Because then you have suicidal thoughts and now you attempt suicide. And then God is faithful. By some miracle, you survive, right? And then after that, I said to myself, I can't do this anymore. I need to be better. No one is coming to save me. I have to save myself. Yeah. And so I start the work. I see the therapist. I tried yoga. Yoga was nice, but that didn't last. I think I was lazy. I'm a very lazy person. I'm a very lazy person. And at some point I was like, I can't do this anymore.
How long did you try the yoga for?
I think close to 6 months, hey?
Okay. But do you say during that 6 months, how was your marijuana intake?
At that point, so after the attempted suicide, right, I stopped. because then I said I need to change my life.
Okay.
So I changed my apartment. I just changed everything.
Yeah, so how exactly did you manage to stop, since it's something that you had been doing for some time?
It was hard. I will not lie. It was really hard. And also having to do it in secret was also the hardest thing, because when I'm around, I mean, I've known you 24 years and you didn't know this.
Yeah.
So I have to be a person who doesn't smoke. But it's something that I do so much. And it started with reducing the number of times I do it in a day and trying to substitute. And then I substituted it with buying heels.
Okay.
I'm really obsessed with shoes.
Yes, you are. I've seen your shoe rack. Makes sense.
Every time I'd be sad, I'd go to the mall and get a pair of heels. And then, that high. But then also, that was getting too obsessive. I mean, you've seen my shoe rack. It's not healthy. So I needed to find something to replace the marijuana, which I replaced with the heels, to replace the heels. So I started yoga.
Okay.
So the yoga, it worked for a few months, but I didn't have the commitment for it. And so I relapsed again. And
Relapsed to the heels or to the marijuana?
I just relapsed to depression, to rotting.
Yeah.
So I was rotting away. I was not taking care of myself.
Were you getting any help?
At the time, no.
Okay.
And it was so bad that I just didn't see the meaning of being alive. At some point, I said a prayer to God and I said, you know what? Just take my life now. I tried it myself. It didn't work out.
Yeah.
Maybe if you do it, call me back, And I think after that prayer, I felt how sad that was, because you shouldn't get to a place where you're praying to die,
Yeah.
It was at that point that I said, I need help. And I opened up to my partner at the time and I said, okay, this is something I'm struggling with. This is something that I'm dealing with. And this is something that I have been dealing with for a very long time. And I need help. And he gave me grace. We tried to go to Chainama. And, but then still I had that thing of, how are people going to see me that I was locked in a mental institution, right? There's so much stigma around that. There's so much stigma around that. So I found a new therapist. Yeah. We started doing the work. We started the medications. And it did work. It started to work. And then because I struggled so much, I decided there could be somebody who is walking this path that I'm walking. Let me speak about it. And that is how I began to speak about mental health. But then in a third person.
Yeah.
I spoke about it in the third person. I started the podcast.
Yeah.
And we had all these guests talking about different things. And eventually, I think one time, you and I actually had a conversation. And you're telling me that, Cece, you need to own your story. And you're telling me a story about you.
Oh, yeah.
We're actually having a podcast about you. Yeah. And you're like, you need to own your story because then nobody can use it against you. And then I was just like, you know what? I'm going to own my story. And I went on social media and just posted and said, okay, I'm dealing with this.
I saw that. It was just so beautiful and inspiring. I saw African Woman post about it on her blog. And I'm like...
I was so humbled and also really grateful for the grace and support that I got from my different communities, friends, and my partner, who also had been very supportive throughout the journey. And now I'm trying to be a person that other people can see and say, okay, that person has suffered, is still suffering, is still struggling, because unfortunately it doesn't end.
Yeah.
It never goes away. But if we can have all these little things that help us slowly do better, live with it, and, know our triggers and all that, for me, it's a plus. Even if it's just one person who I impact, for me, it's a plus.
Wow. That's so inspiring. It's a beautiful story. I hate that you had to go through that, and I'm sorry you had to go through that, but I like how you have managed to get into the battlefield and fight and try to make a change in other people's life. And I've just realized just how a lot of the times we see people, young people, indulging in unhealthy habits. We see people indulging in alcohol, in smoking, the marijuana, tobacco, and different other vices. And we look at it from the outside and we judge. And it doesn't make sense for us because we look at them and we're wondering to say, but they know the effects of what they are doing, but why aren't they actually stopping? Like, for us, it's a button. We think it's a button that you can just snap and then the person should automatically snap out of it and stop. So it really just shows, you sharing your story shows how there's just so much that influences our behavior and our choice. And I'm looking at how you chose to indulge in marijuana at the time because you needed something. You desperately needed something, and that's what was available. And you did that for years, and it helped you. So I'm wondering, do you have anything you would say to, like, maybe a parent or family or friends who are looking at somebody indulging in something like marijuana or any unhealthy vice?
What you said is actually very true, because when you're looking from the outside, you don't know what a person is going through. Sometimes, quite all right, it's for, this is the wave now. Yeah. Everybody's doing it, so let me do it as well. But then sometimes there's something deeper. And the problem is people, before you understand, you judge first, right? Yeah. And you'd be so quick to say, this is so bad for your health. Hey, you're going to die. Yeah. All that stuff. Yeah. And I think I have gotten to a place where I meet people with grace because I don't know what demons you're facing, what demons you're battling with. And I think we need to find ways to sensitize people without stigmatizing them. And I think this would play well with the behavioral science, because in the behavioral science, you have habits that counter the vices, right? In a way that is graceful, where you don't have to make a person feel bad than they already do. Yeah. Because when I stopped cutting myself, when I stopped self-harming, I then had to walk around with a rubber band my therapist told me that instead of literally making yourself bleed, maybe try to...
So it snaps and...
Exactly. So it's not the best thing, but it's the next best thing.
Yeah.
You see? And even as they speak to me, they're not judging to say, but why are you cutting yourself? You're a big person. Yeah. Don't do that, because you never know what someone is struggling with. But if we could find... And I think also it starts with people being open with these conversations. Yeah. It starts with these conversations, which are so uncomfortable, being had.
And I'm so proud of you for sharing and starting this conversation with your story. Like it's you being vulnerable to the world, and hopefully we can tap into that and learn so much. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, we're on the right path, I guess.
Yes, I think we're starting to get there. And I've seen that there's a lot of people now who are advocating for mental health. But then there's still people who are still stigmatizing, which is very shocking. But then also I have come to realize that people hide what's inside by, mocking other things. Because you'd find, I was also a person... I struggled with depression for over 10 years, right? Yeah. But I'd also be like, I would never see a shrink.
Yeah,
because
I get that.
It cost me zero to say, it is what it is, right?
It's the same thing with even Chainama. Like, people know to say, you can see a therapist there. But then the thought of, okay, I drop off and I walk to Chainama. How is everybody going to...
That's the thing. So I had to stop being a hypocrite first. So all of us have to stop being hypocrites first if we want to see the change, because we can't see change if we're not doing something ourselves.
Yeah.
You know that thing for, I'm starting with the man in the mirror? You can't tell your neighbor before you fix yourself.
Yeah.
So if we're not having these conversations, if we're not spreading the awareness, if we're not educating people, because other people genuinely just don't understand.
True.
Others, it's really just negligence. You know what I mean? So if we're not starting these conversations, educating people, spreading awareness, then we're not going anywhere.
Wow. This has been a lovely conversation. It's just, I'm hoping even for the listeners, they realize just how much a lot of our emotions, a lot of things unseen really play a role in what we see on the outside, the behaviors we look at and judge, and the behaviors, the people we call junkies.
Yeah.
There's just so much more, and sometimes it's not just about the educating of the people, as I always say, to say you can't really keep telling somebody to say this is bad, because the help they need might not be them knowing the negative of what they're indulging in, but it might be much deeper than that. So I'm happy you brought this. It's been an insightful conversation. It's lovely. Thank you so much for sharing this story on Reclamation.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah, so any last words?
You know, it's funny because I tell other people.
And then now you're like, what am I
I think meet people with grace. Because you never know what people are dealing with and what people are constantly having to battle with. So no matter how you feel you would have acted differently in a situation, meet people with grace.
Wow. That's powerful. That's lovely. She says meet people with grace. I hope this week we will try to look at the people we've been looking at and judging and try to extend some grace towards them, even as we form a picture of who we think they are or might be. That's a very powerful thing. Thank you so much for that, Chonga. Thank you so much,
I'm so happy
Cici.
for being here. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So that was Cici. She shared her story of how mental health affected her behavior, how she ended up taking marijuana, and how that was an escape from the depression that she was living with and that she has been living with. And it's been a very insightful conversation. And I think it leaves us with so much to reflect on. So much. We all have people who have behaviors we don't really understand. We're trying to make sense of. We probably even shout at them and judge them for that and don't understand why they're doing it. But maybe this is the time to question if there might be some hidden force behind why they are doing what they are doing. It could also be with you as an individual sometimes. You might find yourself indulging in certain substances or certain behavior that you really want to get rid of, but haven't really understood why you do it in the first place. So this could be a moment to reflect on that. So yeah, that's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for listening. Please do subscribe, share it with somebody who might be inspired by this lovely story. Thank you for joining me till the very end. In the world of behavioral science, every ending is just the beginning of something new. Please remember to subscribe, leave a comment, and stay tuned for more adventures in behavioral science as we continue our journey towards a healthier, more informed decision making. Until then, stay curious, stay vigilant, stay healthy. This is Tabo Lukato Hadonka signing off from Reclamation.